be seeking every year, but the fact that it's going to be the first is going to be amazing. And there are our players.
Now, I can tell you the player to the right will be playing Amethyst Steel. It's someone I've been speaking to quite a bit throughout the weekend. So the 15th seed, Amethyst Steel, with that Captain Hook and the Mr. Smee as the cards that we drew your attention to. But open deck lists. So each player is given 5 minutes before the start of the game to analyze their opponent's deck list, to try and memorize each of the cards. Of course, you're going to know the card counts and all that sort of thing. We've got Lucas here to your left, who is going to be the higher seed in this one, and therefore will be going first in game one if they decide to do so, which I'm sure they will. Now, worth mentioning that the deck list, I don't believe you have access to during the game. You just get to look before, and therefore you've got a little bit of memorizing. And we've got Andrew as well, who will be playing Amethyst Steel. Now, the thing with Amethyst Steel, Ed, is you've got so much flexibility in terms of which cards you go for. We did see them on stream, I believe, yesterday, and one of the interesting things they've got in their deck is the Tinkerbell package. We've got the Tinkerbell Fast Flyer, also known in the community as the Surfer Tink, which is an Amethyst 3-cost evasive, but then of course that giant Tinkerbell as a shift 4 option is something to fear for any player.
It certainly is. It does a brutal amount to a lot of people's boards, and currently we're having a quick look through some of the deck lists that we've got just to see if there is any spice in there, but mostly I think a lot of these decks are looking pretty much like the kind of thing that we've seen all weekend, although, like we said, Andrew is running that Captain Hook, which you mentioned
Yeah,
earlier.
I think Andrew's deck is super fascinating. I haven't quite had a chance to look at Andrew's yet, but we're going to definitely give you some information on that as soon as we can. We've got a bit of a messy table, Ed, from all the cards. I say we, it's mainly my part of the table that's a little bit messy.
I'm currently going through the lists of decks in front of me because we have all the top 16. The one problem is they don't have names on them. Yeah, so I'm currently trying to guess, which means that I might have a little bit of a problem when it comes to actually actively predicting it. But we don't need to, Joe. All we need to see is these two top 8 contenders trying to make their way into the top 4, and we will see those cards as they hit the board, and that is all that really matters.
So we are going to be seeing both of these players at the Disney Lorcana Challenge World Championships at the start of next year. So get used to these faces. These are two of the very best Disney Lorcana players in Europe. They're going head to head. They want to keep going. There's so many prizes to play for, but also the prestige of being the first ever Disney Lorcana European Championship is a big deal for all of these players. You can see a Merlin goat in the hand here. So it's going to be Ruby Amethyst up against Amethyst Steel. Ruby Amethyst is the higher seed and will be going first, and it's going to be a really interesting matchup. These Amethyst Mirror matchups, Ed, can be a little bit of a battle of the genies. Genie on turn 4 into Elsa on turn 5 is a really good combo as the player going first, and you can see Andrew to the left here does have both Genie and Elsa in the opening hand. So I'm going to be really curious to see how they mulligan, because it is risky to hold on to those cards, but they're so strong in this matchup that Lucas might decide to hold on to them. It's going to be a fascinating mulligan. Andrew on the other side, you can see, does have that Gantu Captain Cranky Head, a card I'm a big fan of, as well as a couple copies of Captain Hook, which are a little bit slower up against things like Ruby Sapphire, but in this matchup, they could be all important.
So we're just having a quick look just to gather, thank you very much, what is on our list of decks here. And now we've got both of them on our table, which means we can have a look. So these are seed 10 and seed 15 that we're looking at here. Andrew, like we said, the most interesting thing there was definitely seeing the Captain Hook. But having a quick look at Lucas's, I'm not seeing anything that's standing out too much. This looks very much like a sort of standard Ruby Amethyst deck. And nope, nothing in there that's really out of the ordinary.
Yeah, worth mentioning, I have one copy of Lady Tremaine and also one copy of the Peter Pan Shadow Finder. Not something you always see, but that Lady Tremaine, while there's just one copy of it in an open deck list situation, that is going to give Andrew a lot to think about, because it is open deck lists. He's going to know that there is potentially that Lady Tremaine, and look out for Lady Tremaine taking out that Gantu. That could be a game-changing moment for Lucas. It's something that I suffered when I play it against Ed, one of the Disney Lorcana Challenge champions from North America. He used Lady Tremaine on my Gantu, and it was game changer. But here we go! Chernobog's followers kicks things off for Lucas. This is the top 8 of the Disney Lorcana Challenge European Championships 2024, and these players are competing for a golden Mickey Mouse. It's Queen's Castle, and anything you can do, Andrew can do better. It's Chernobog's followers versus Magic Broom to start things off.
These are the sort of standard plays that we like to see. Those 1-drops always hitting the field. That Chernobog going to give you a little bit more of a card advantage if you quest, unless you decide to keep it around a little bit. And Magic Broom doing very similar. You can quest with that, play another character on turn 2, and get yourself another card. And these kind of things right at the start can really help build that card advantage, give you plenty of resources as you get deeper into the game. Right
Super interesting moment here, Ed. No turn 2 for Lucas, but also Lucas not drawing off the Chernobog's followers, and instead saying to Andrew, you can challenge me with your Magic Broom if you wish, but it will be an even trade. Now, Andrew didn't quest with their Magic Broom either, so it seems like they will take the challenge. They're actually going to quest.
Interesting.
Now, I'm a little bit surprised about this because this opens up the possibility for Lucas to rush in with a Madam Mim Fox and remove that Magic Broom quite efficiently. But perhaps Andrew's saying, you can do that if you wish, I don't mind, because then I'm going to take your Fox out with my Calhoun and gain 2 lore. It's a really fascinating start. But now Lucas will take the trade, and Lucas will go for the Sisu. So I was surprised by Andrew's play to quest with the Magic Broom, but it's massively worked out because instead now Lucas feels forced to make the trade. So Andrew gaining 1 lore by that decision. Already I love the way Andrew's played this one, playing it better than I would have done myself.
We have seen that Calhoun disappear off the board as well, a card that has been getting a lot of play in all of these steel decks, and one of my favorite steel cards that we saw in the most recent set as well. It's really, really great being able to just see that, get those extra 2 lore whenever it manages to banish something. But we do see the Diablo come down and the Captain Hook.
Is there a third? There is a fire the cannons as well, and it will deal 2 damage to that Sisu Emboldened Warrior. That was 3 1-cost cards played by Andrew there all at once. Now they're considering to quest or not to quest with the Calhoun. They decide it is worth the quest. Of course, Calhoun can gain 2 lore when banishing a character in a challenge, but only gains 1 lore while questing. But Andrew, the player going second, is in the lead. And this is what Amethyst Steel needs to do in this matchup, Ed. You need to make a pretty quick start and get the game state into a position where you can quest and you force your opponent to challenge. And Andrew's already managed to do that. They quested with the Magic Broom and Lucas took the challenge with the Chernobog's followers. So far for Andrew, it's going really well despite being the player going second. It's the Genie on the job now though for Lucas, who will draw a card. What are they going to do with the Sisu? Are they going to challenge? They certainly will. But Andrew, this is exactly what you're looking to do. Force your opponent to take challenges while you quest. But Lucas is also controlling the board quite nicely and might have that Genie Elsa combo we talked about. It's Genie versus Genie, Ed. Now this is where Elsa could be huge for Lucas, because Elsa on turn 5 for Lucas can exert that Genie, and then you can challenge with the Elsa, challenge with the Genie to remove your opponent's Genie, and Lucas would have so much board control. The question is, do they have it? And this also comes back to the mulligan. Did they keep that Elsa in the opening hand? Do they have it? They have it, Ed!
So now we've also got Brawl in hand. Which do we see? Do we see the Maui get inked here just to be able to facilitate this play here? We're going to see, this is a moment, you've got the time, you've got over an hour left on that clock. You've got to take the time to really think this through as we go into these best of 3 top cuts, because every move matters. Every single one of these moves is inching you closer to not only that golden Mickey, but also to becoming the European champ. And it's within reaching distance at the top 8, and we're seeing the traditional card flick of these high-level players thinking through the little hand shuffle, what to play, what to play. We will end up seeing this happen, though, at some point. Lucas is just going to give this the moment that it needs. But I will say in that last turn, getting rid of that Calhoun, a very good thing to do, because Andrew's already started to get a little bit of that lore advantage. What will we see Lucas do?
I have to say, I like that they're slowing the game down at this moment. They ink the Brawl, and Elsa does come through. It will exert the Genie, and there's that play I talked about right at the start. Lucas pulls it off. It's a big moment in this game. Does Andrew have an Elsa of their own to equalize this board? It doesn't appear so. So that is going to be a big issue for Andrew. Two evasive characters down on the board for Lucas in the form of Elsa and Genie, wish fulfilled. The Captain Hook and the Diablo cannot challenge the Elsa and Genie because of their evasive. So instead, Andrew will quest. They are in the lead. They have 7 lore, but Lucas has control of the board. The longer this game goes on, the more I would imagine it will go in Lucas's favor with big cards like Madame Medusa, Be Prepared. So Andrew inks the Strength of a Raging Fire and passes on over to Lucas.
I saw the Strength of the Raging Fire almost be considered being used a couple of turns ago by Andrew, and I was wondering if holding on to that would help, but seemingly getting rid of it for the ink for more resources is better. We do see the Maui come in and also challenging that Captain Hook there. So now we've got Elsa getting rid of Captain Hook. The board presence is now being removed. We get 1 draw off the Diablo. When it's banished, you do get a chance to draw it.
There's the Tremaine as well, Ed! Lucas with the 1 copy of Lady Tremaine taking down that goat, which otherwise was a pretty difficult card for Lucas to deal with. Madame Medusa, of course, cannot remove a goat from the board, but Lady Tremaine certainly can. This is going so well for Lucas. That Genie on 4, Elsa on 5, Lady Tremaine on 6 has turned this game on its head.
There comes Smash taking rid of Genie there, and we do see the Fox getting inked there because with nothing on the board for Andrew, the Fox is pretty much useless. You can't do it. You've got to bounce itself back if you do that. We do see friends on the other side come out getting more card advantage, and we do see a Be Prepared is coming to the hand. This could be useful later on, especially with the amount of ink that Lucas has from this point in the game onwards. That card is going to be useful as an emergency backup, but we do see Peter Pan come down onto the board, as well as that Madame M. Fox bouncing back with 1 copy of Lady Tremaine, meaning that that is going to be usable later on. Lucas has so many answers for a lot of what Andrew might be coming up with.
All you need is 1 Lady Tremaine if you pair it with a Madame Mim Fox or a Madame Mim Snake. Rinse and repeat for Lucas. Andrew now fully aware that that Lady Tremaine is in Lucas's hand. I also love that play off Lucas, singing friends on the other side with Elsa. And the hand for Andrew is Queen's Castle and that Tinkerbell. Of course, Queen's Castle not exactly doing too much on this board.
No, but it does take away any of the questing power for 1 turn, because you would have to use almost everything on board that Lucas has to be able to get rid of it. Unless, of course, we see that Maui come down who can immediately get rid of it along with Peter Pan. And then we still have the ability to quest for 2 there with Elsa and Madame Mim Fox.
Andrew is still in the lead in terms of lore, but every other advantage is going in Lucas's favor right now. Lucas has the board presence. They have the Lady Tremaine in hand, and they have more cards in hand, I do believe. It's going to be Chronobox followers for 1 ink. Tinkerbell still in hand. Only 6 ink for Andrew, and needs to try and play around that Lady Tremaine. So only a 1 ink turn from Andrew. Meanwhile, Lucas just continues to play threat after threat.
We are seeing a lot of cards being flicked, but there's that Lady Tremaine just getting rid of that Chernobog. Just control the board. That's all you need to do in this game 1 of the top 8 feature match. And then Quest, just clear that gap. Now they are neck and neck in lore, and Andrew right now has way fewer resources. The board is very much in Lucas's favor, and in hand still answers for anything. We do see a Tinkerbell come into hand, and we're going to see the big Tinkerbell come down there, and we know what that means. That means there's going to be a lot more damage coming out to all of our characters on the board. It's good, but it might not be enough to really make a difference.
Now, the Tinkerbell has come down for Andrew at the right moment, because the Lady Tremaine taking out that Chernobog's followers, Andrew almost baiting Lucas to take that Tremaine. And if ever you need a card to control the board, Tinkerbell Giant Fairy might just be that card. However, there's a lot of evasive characters there for Lucas with that Peter Pan Shadow Finder and the Elsa, the only Exerted characters have both been bounced back by Andrew, and now Tinkerbell is not able to challenge a single one of Lucas's cards. Lucas is at 13 lore, Andrew is trailing at 8.
That was a fantastic use of Madam Mimfox there, not only getting rid of the other Madam Mimfox, but then immediately playing that again, getting rid of its damage, and then taking that one copy of Tremaine back. That is getting a lot of use out of a one-of, which was slipped into the deck there. That's why you need these bounce cards in a Ruby Amethyst deck. Those Amethyst cards being able to just bring things back to the hand when you play them. Madam Mim is very versatile in this moment. We do see there are 2 copies of Be Prepared in hand, and also that Tremaine. Not that they're needed right now, but we do see Rabbit come down just to be able to get a couple of extra cards in. Probably quite useful, but now we do see Maui swing into that Tinkerbell. Get rid of it. Get it off the board, because that right now is the biggest threat. The other 2, not so much a problem. There's Lady Tremaine going to get rid of the broom.
Yep. And for Andrew, a giant Tinkerbell off the top is surely their only chance, because it could shift in to this evasive Tinkerbell and then instantly challenge, removing 2 characters at once. Lucas quests again and suddenly jumps up to 17 lore. They are just 3 away. Andrew needs the giant Tink. They find a dock, which could still draw into the Tinkerbell. They have 4 ink available. Do they find the giant fairy?
They don't. They don't. A smash and a Churnabox followers. Andrew shaking his head there. That's probably going to be it. Do we see the handshake or the scoop to concede this first game? It looks like just showing the hand, revealing it. And that means Lucas takes game 1 of this top 8 feature match.
Lucas on Ruby Amethyst, making advantage of that higher seeding and using that all-powerful combo of Genie Wish Fulfilled on turn 4 and Elsa the 5th Spirit on turn 5. It really does seem to be the key in these Amethyst battles.
Before we got to this tournament, Joe, you and I were talking on Discord about the kind of ways that these decks go, and you repeatedly have said Genie turn 4 into Elsa turn 5 over and over again, that this is what you think might be one of the best plays that in this current set 6 meta, and we did see it there, taking Lucas into a fantastic win to already have that game advantage in this top 8 feature match. That's 1 step closer to the Mickey and 1 step closer to that trophy that we've already seen a brief shot of in this montage of our 2 players here, and it really is a gorgeous trophy. One of these 2 may be lifting it, but first they have to get through this. Will we see Andrew have a slightly better time in this round, maybe draw into some more of the cards we need, maybe even have the fortune of getting into those tinks at those difficult time? But we'll have to see exactly what happens, because for now it's 1 game to Lucas.
It certainly is. It's going to be very interesting to see how this matchup plays out with the reverse of the coin, if you will, with, of course, Lucas now will be the player. I'm getting the names confused there, sorry. Andrew will be the player going first. So they have Fire the Cannons. They have an abundance of 1-cost characters. Often Andrew is going to be looking on turn 2 to play a 1-cost character and use Fire the Cannons. Lucas with Flynn Rider, of course, would be a great target for Andrew with a Fire the Cannons on turn 3. So very, very fascinated to see this. Of course, now with Andrew going first, it might be on them to get that Genie on turn 4, Elsa on turn 5 combo.
Now, something I am noticing while I look at Lucas's deck is that we are seeing 4 copies of Madam Mim's Snake. Now, normally that's pretty regular.
Yep.
But actually in this tournament, I seem to have seen more people cut that from the deck. Why would you say they've done that? Do you think it's probably for that Tremaine? Because if you've got rid of all your foxes or you've inked them in the early game, do you think it's just so you have a quick, cheap ability just to get that one back?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of Amethyst decks have cut the Madam Mim Snake, the quicker decks like Amethyst Steel and sometimes Emerald Amethyst. But Ruby Amethyst is a little bit slower, it's a little bit more methodical. It tends to play Merlin Rabbit, and I think the Madam Mim Snake efficiency with the Rabbit is just so strong that the Ruby Amethyst players tend to stick with that Madam Mim Snake for now. But it definitely has started creeping out. Some people were just playing 3 copies of it, but in this case, it is 4 copies of that Madam Mim Snake.
I'm looking just through if there's any other spice. We're seeing 3 Genie Wish Fulfilled, so not quite running the 4. Yep. Do you think that's sensible versus a 4?
Yeah, I think it's like a toss-up with rabbit, and they've gone for 3 rabbits, 3 genies. We see some people maybe going for a 4 rabbits, 2 genies, but I think I would never play less than 3 genies. You can see how important that Genie-Elsa combo is in these Amethyst. They're not quite mirror matches, of course, with it being Ruby Amethyst versus Amethyst Steel, but both players are still playing Amethyst, and there's often a lot of Amethyst cards in an Amethyst deck. And we see the fist bump from both players, a smile on each player's face, but a couple of chefs, which is also known as dock in English. Gantu will be inked. You never want to have a double dock in hand if you're playing Amethyst Steel. They just don't combine too well. Gantu into the inkwell. Chernobog's followers kicks things off for Andrew. Is there a one-cost character for Lucas?
There is indeed. We've seen him draw into Magic Broom, so that means that things can kick off here, just deciding on what to ink initially. So we are going to see Crab. That is, I believe, one of only one. That is the only copy of Crab in Lucas's deck, so it's now in the inkwell. We will not be seeing that used to an advantage at any point later in the game from this point on, but we do see that Magic Broom. We're going to see Andrew use the Chernobog ability right there to
questing for 1 and then banishing it. So what is the card drawn off the top? They have a Fire the Cannon's Head in hand. They might be looking for a 1-cost character off the top.
Genie.
Now, I have to say, Andrew's hand, Ed, is an absolute potential nightmare. It is filled with uninkable cards. All eyes on the top deck of Andrew next turn. If an uninkable card is drawn by Andrew, it could be curtains.
This is really, really bad. That is 5 cards in hand that are totally uninkable, and actually 2 of them are duplicates of each other. 2 docks, 2 genies, and the 1 Fire the Cannons. I suppose at this point you can use that cannon just to clear a little bit of Lucas's board, but if Lucas manages to ramp up from this point and gets consistent turn after turn ink and plays, then this is not looking good for Andrew, and this could be a 2-0 sweep, but it's too early to tell.
Absolutely. And for Lucas, it is going to be that Flynn Rider. The Magic Broom will be banished to draw Lucas a card now. Andrew needs some ink right now. Do they find it? It's Pete, and Andrew has never been more happy to see a Pete in their life. And it is going to be the Fire the Cannons. Doc or Chef will come through. It will be discarded. I was wondering if it was better to not take the trigger on the dock and just try to draw a inkable off the top. But Andrew discards a hand of 2 genies and a dock. That is a very interesting moment indeed.
I think I can understand the decision here because they are uninkable, and whilst they might be good down the line, there are other copies in Andrew's deck, but what we did see brought into the hand was a Calhoun and a Diablo. So those are both usable at this exact moment, and we've just seen that copy of Captain Hook as well come into Andrew's hand, which we are going to see come down, so that's going to keep Mr. Smee alive, and there's no more damage is going to start coming once it's exerted, and we do see that Diablo got inked. Calhoun is there ready to start taking names and taking lore.
Andrew now has developed a wide board, which is almost overloading the removal of Lucas. This is where cards like Madam M. Fox with its rush ability can start to help equalize this board as quickly as possible. I have to say, Andrew, they're very, very unlucky here. They just play 3 copies of Doc, because often you want to avoid having 2 copies of Doc in your hand at once. But Andrew drawing 2 of their 3 Docs as well as 2 of their 4 Genies at the start is rather unfortunate. Would definitely be interesting to take a look at Andrew's mulligan after the game to see if perhaps they got a little bit greedy with their mulligan, keeping too many uninkables.
Absolutely, but I do think, despite how scary that moment was, that dock might actually have been the right move. Sure, you do get rid of the genies, but there are other copies in the deck. It's not the end of the world. How many do we? Because we know that Lucas is playing 3. Did we see how many Andrew is playing? Probably 4. So there's still, still options in deck, and it was just a better way to get into those usable cards. And we saw Calhoun and also that Diablo being able to be inked.
It's going to be the Genie for Lucas on turn number 4. Often you're going to be worried about playing this Genie down if your opponent has a Genie because of that Genie-Elsa combo, but Andrew does not have a Genie on the board. The card off the top, it is going to be something they can play, and it is going to be a 1-cost Diablo. So just 1 ink spent for Andrew, and this is the problem with discarding that hand of a Doc and a double Genie. That was a lot of card draw, but the board is very very, very wide for Andrew, and Lucas is going to surely want to rush in with a Madam M Fox to start trying to control this board.
The problem is with Andrew right now is there's not many cards in hand because of the sort of desperation to fill up that board. So as we go forward, we have seen that Lucas has that be prepared in hand, which means as we get closer and closer to that 7 ink moment, it's actually going to look worse for Andrew unless there's more cards in hand, unless there's more things being utilized there. We are going to see friends on the other side be sung by Sisu there.
I'm surprised Lucas goes for the friends here and does not challenge with the Sisu at this moment in time. Let's see what the plan is. They're going to challenge Mr. Smee with Genie. They're surely going to rush in with the Fox. The Magic Broom comes down, perhaps just to be bounced back by the Fox. Now, it is going to be the Fox bouncing back the Broom, and then the Calhoun will be traded for the Fox. But of course, Sisu could have challenged either this Captain Hook or the Chef, also known as Doc, and removed some more lore. So we're going to have to look back at that moment. It's a Queen's Castle off the top. The Queen's Castle is pretty good at this moment in time, Ed. Andrew is creeping towards that 20 lore mark. They are 6 lore away.
This has been a significantly better game for Andrew, despite what seemed like...
Maui off the top!
Oh,
Maui has arrived just in time to deal with that Queen's Castle. Is it Maui time, Ed?
We must see it. At this point, you have to get rid of that because that lore advantage is too big, and we know what Queen's Castle does. It's going to give you that 2 lore every turn, and it only has 7 willpower. Got to be able to get rid of it. You could get rid of that with both the Broom and the Maui and still have Sisu and Genie available for 4 quest.
Lucas went for Singing Frenzy on the other side the previous turn with Sisu. I was surprised, but as a result, they've drawn a couple of extra cards, which meant Maui arrived just in time. It's going to be the Magic Broom taking out Diablo, drawing a card. Sisu deals with the Captain Hook. That Doc, though, with 3 willpower cannot be removed by the Genie, but Genie and Maui could combine to take down the castle.
And I think that is
it's
exactly
Maui
what's
time!
happening. Oh, it's Maui time, and there goes that Queen's Castle. So that is getting rid of some more advantage that Andrew has. That is now going to stall Andrew out for a bit with that gap in lore being pretty big. Lucas right now has a pretty good chance to be able to catch up, and with that Maui on the board as well, that is going to create just a bit more of a threat for
Andrew has fire the cannons in hand. What's the card off the top? Something like a Fox. Could be a game changer.
Calhoun.
It's not bad. It's Captain Crankyhead. Do they have enough ink to play it, though? They don't. Only 4 ink for Andrew.
No.
After that awful, uninkable start, they can't get the Captain Crankyhead down onto the board. They do not have enough ink.
But we do have a Tremaine coming into hand, and we've seen the interactions that Lucas does with that 1 copy. But if Andrew can get rid of it somehow, then that advantage is got rid of for Lucas, and it really puts Andrew in a really fortuitous position. But we do still see that actually Lucas right now, despite having quite good board domination, needs to start getting some lore, because at the moment Andrew is sort of within spitting distance of getting to that 20.
Yeah, and Andrew, though, just 6 away. Of course, an abundance of cards in their deck with Goats and the White Rose, which can gain lore out of nowhere. But that Lady Tremaine in the hand for Lucas is the perfect response to the Gantu. The card at the top is a Goat for Andrew, so it's a tricky decision. Do you go for they ink the Goat. In comes Captain Crankyhead. It's Gantu, but Lucas has the perfect response in hand. It's the one of Lady Tremaine, and it deals with the Gantu, and Andrew is not happy to see that at all.
This is a really disastrous position for Andrew, because obviously Gantu having 4 ability on that quest, is gaining you 4 lore each time, is great, but the second it's gone, with no cards in hand for Andrew, right now this is the moment that Lucas brings things back. There's no way for Andrew to deal with this. Whatever Andrew's top decking is all Andrew can play. Let's see what it is. It's the Tink! This could be useful!
5 ink is all all they have. Tink gets inked, no card played, and Lucas is free to quest. Ed has his head in his hands right now, everybody.
This guy, I just thought that might have been it, and I didn't realize there was only 5 ink. So we've seen it get inked. This isn't enough. There's so much on that board for Lucas. Andrew had a really wide board, like you said a couple of times, but look at it now. Lucas has full domination with that Lady Tremaine, the Maui, a Sisu, and then a rabbit and a genie along with the broom, and another Sisu comes down.
I really want to try and look back at the mulligan from Andrew in this game number 2. What is drawn off the top? It's a go. The handshake! Lucas has qualified already for the World Championships and now secured themselves a golden Mickey Mouse. They are into the top 4. Ruby Amethyst takes down Amethyst Steel.
That's one step closer to lifting that trophy that you just saw there. Congratulations to Lucas. And